Good morning, ladies. It is no first week of November, and we are going to work on some Pink Santa. This is our last formal class. If we need more, we will do more. If not, I am here regardless for however many weeks you need me. I'm here. I haven't gotten any calls from anyone, so I'm assuming everybody's okay. You may not even be working on this just yet, but you've got the recordings. So, so the last little bit here are the flowers in the basket. So let's start with a demo of that. Just a quick recap of ribbon work from last week would be, I'm gonna thread my ribbon, be a quick demo. Okay, so ribbon work. Comes in size 4, 7, and 13. Use size 13 for 13 count. Use size 7 for 13 count, some 18. Then use the size 4 also for 18 count. There are several different companies of ribbon. We like the River Silks. If you look on the edge of it, you'll see that it has just a little bit of a little ridge to it. And River Silks does that on purpose. They do that so that it does not fray. So unlike Neon Rays, which frays as you work with it, the River Silks does not. Some of the others will also fray. The Splendor, Gloriana, they fray. So you cut your ribbon at an angle, gives you a little bit of a point there, as you can see. Then that makes that point easier to get through your eye. Usually. Then when you get it through the eye, just about 1/4 of an inch down, you're just going to pierce the ribbon. Just going to pierce the ribbon about 1/4 of the way down. Okay. And then you're just going to tug on the tail. That locks it on your needle. Ribbons are notorious for slipping out of the needle because they're so silky. So we're going to just tie this off. So the stitch in the basket is one of 2 stitches. It's a Japanese ribbon stitch. And I forgot my laying tool, which on my board, oh, yes. So as you can see here on this one, this is the Japanese ribbon stitch. And you're just going to lay it over, and there it is with a 13 or a 7 and a 4 millimeter. So you can see the difference. So sometimes if you're wanting a more full look, then you might just use a little bit wider ribbon. Also, you can just do a satin stitch, which is up here at the top. And of course, French knots are the other options that you can use ribbon work. Anytime you're using ribbon work, your stitch should be at least twice the diameter of your ribbon. So if you're working with this, your stitch should be at least twice this length in order for you to get the full effect. So at this point, I'm just going to kind of come up. Last week, we worked on just the little loops and a little bit of a Japanese, and it's called the Japanese ribbon stitch. But the first one I'm going to show you is just a satin stitch. And this is with a 7 millimeter, just so you get a little bit more of the effect. So just a satin stitch is just over like you would a satin stitch. I use my fingers or a laying tool just to keep it straight. You can twist it from back behind to keep it coming through the canvas untwisted. So you just kind of have to play with it a little bit. The main thing about ribbon work is slow patience and going slow. So that would just be a plain ribbon stitch or a satin stitch. So you could do that in there for the flowers in the basket. You're going to start from the middle and work your way out doing the Japanese ribbon stitch. is you're going to bring it out. I can do it better this way because of the camera. You're going to lay your ribbon down the length that you want it. Then you're just going to pierce it in the middle. Again, just slowly pulling through. And you just leave this little poof here on the end, whatever size you want. If you pull it on through, you're going to end up with a satin stitch. So you have to be really careful. So that's where it's good to leave a laying tool inside the loop. You can always go back and do a little pin stitch, which is just through the canvas down one adjacent hole. That locks it. So then you're locked in. It's not going to go anywhere. And you want to do the pin stitch underneath where you're going to be stitching. So there's the Japanese ribbon stitch and the satin stitch. And that is basically the stitches that are in the flowers in that basket are the two. Then you can also do French knots right in the center with the green ribbon. Same technique as you would with thread. Just wrap around once or even twice, back down. And again, you don't want to pull too tight, and it keeps you with your bigger French knots for that center. So you can wrap once or you can wrap twice and then back down. That's one, and then that's two. So those are the French knots that go in the middle of each of those flowers. So you're just going to work it from around the leaves. Hold this up so I can get closer here. So you would just work it coming out in the various directions that the petals are going now. And then you would go back, and in the center of where you've worked that around, you would then put just a glob of French knots right there in the center. So that is the flowers in the basket. So from there, see, we went back to the bunny. I went over him last week where you did the little loop for the bow on your bunny. Okay, the top of each tassel is your beadwork that sits. It's the gold and the white that sits here on the tassel on the back here. And then also at the bottom of the bag sits the tassel. And so what I did was I went with the gold and the hot pink. And see, here's the one at the bottom of the bag. And you just run a straight line of the beads. You could either do those strung or you could do them individually. If you do them individually, I actually ran the needle back up through the top. So once I came down through the bottom, I ran the needle, I went down, pinned it, came back up and ran it back through in order to get it to lay straight. So that was that one. This one's a little harder to see for the turkey tufting. And then there is that one with the beads for the top of the tassel. While we're on the tassels, we'll just keep going with tassels. So the tassels are nothing but very long turkey work in the various threads that are left in your kit. You could use, I threw in some very velvet. I threw in the coat threads. I did throw in some of the gold from the bottom. You could use whatever colors are in there. You could multicolored, make it all one color. The one thing I did different on the bottom of the bag was I did some fringed beading. And all you do with fringed beading is you come up, you add a few beads. I put some bugles, did some bugle beads in there, and then added a couple more beads. When you do bugles, they're very sharp on the edges. So if you put a bead on either side of the bugle, it's less likely to break. And I just played with it and just did various combinations here. Once you get to the end one, you're going to kind of come around. You're going to skip the one on the end, and you're going to come right back up through each one and then sink it at the bottom. Or I'm sorry, sink it at the top. It's at the bottom where I'm sitting because this is upside down. So that is the fringed beading. And you just add whatever length you want, whatever combinations you want. Have fun with it. So that's the beading. But yes, you just kind of, you always have to skip the one at the bottom to come back up to the top. And that is that. And those actually are larger holes, and the bugles do well with a size 28 needle. Then the beads, I think we went over last week, the beads here at the point of each of these hearts should be lasso. So you need to do a lasso stitch on each of those beads to keep those in place. And of course, to add on your bells. I just use the gold thread to attach the bells. Okay, now to the turkey tufting. Okay, turkey tufting. There are, yes, so turkey tufting. So the rules to turkey tufting are you work from left to right. The best threads are a little bit of wool. Here we like Bella Lusa and Essentials for turkey tufting. I'm actually going to do the turkey tufting on the canvas because it's easier to see. So let me attach it and get all in place. The other things about turkey tufting, you work left to right, then you clip it and start back and work back left to right. It also helps to have a laying tool or a finger to hold it in place. So let me see if I can get a little bit closer here. Here we go. So we're going to go left to right. So turkey tufting. Once you get going, it's pretty easy. So you want to start over in the hole to the left. And your stitch guide has pictures talking you through this as well. You're going to hold the end, okay? You're going to come up one hole next to, one hole to the right of where you just went down. So you went down in A, you're coming back up in B. I usually kind of fling it to the top. Then you're going to drop your needle into the hole, the empty hole to the left. I kind of keep it held open with another finger. Then you're going to come right back up through A again. And all that does is it locks it in place. Okay. So then you're going to come right back down into the very next empty hole. So you're down, whatever length you're holding it, you're just going to hold on to it. Usually about an inch. You come right up to the right in the very next empty hole. Okay. Then I like to shuffle it to the top. You're going to share the hole to the left of where you originally came up. So you're going to share that hole. But by keeping the finger here, it keeps it open so you can see to come right back up in that A hole. Well, that didn't sound right, did it? Oh, gosh. The first hole. Okay, let's go again. So we're going to go right down into the very next empty hole, leaving your loop right there. You're going to come to the right, the very next empty hole. I kind of fling it to the top, come down into the shared hole to the left of your original up hole for this time. It keeps it open. You're going to come right back up through the middle, pull tight, and you just keep going. So you just keep working this from left to right. When you get to the right, you just clip it and come back to the left and start over. There are people that will work it the other direction, but I get confused when I do it that way. And it's just easier to do it this way the whole way. you're going to go every row putting this in. If you used an essentials, there are areas where you could skip a few holes if it's getting too thick. So again, down, up to the right, swing it up, hold on to it so you can see where to come back up to lock it down. And then it's locked in place. It's not going anywhere. Turkey tufting takes a lot of thread. That's why you've got like 5 of these Bella Luces in there. Once you get it, we'll swing this way. Once you get it all worked, it's this. And then what you do is you come back, and if you've left them long enough, you can just clip them to get the loops off. You can also take a curved pair of scissors, is nice. You just go through and you just start clipping all those loops that you have created. There are some things that you may do, beards and such, that you may decide to leave the loops. And so if you're working on the tassel, you would do your loops as long as you want that tassel to go. If you're going to trim the tassel, I would go an extra ½ inch to an extra inch longer from where you're going to trim the tassel for your loops, just to give yourself enough room. The other trick to turkey work is you can go ahead and cut it now, but do not do your final trimming of it until it comes back from the finisher. You also want to trim it with curved scissors, and you want to trim it off of your canvas so that if you were to give it a little bit of a trim before you send it to the finisher, you would want it off so that you can kind of manipulate a little bit and you can hold it so you can get this edge a little shorter to get it a little bit more rounded. So you can round your edges, and it's easier to do off the canvas. The other trick to turkey work is to trim very minutely, because once you have trimmed it, it's gone. It's gone. And trust me, it is hard to go back and add extra loops because you cut too much. Yes. And so you just go through. The other thing you can do is fluff it with a bunka brush. And I actually took a fine-tooth comb and worked it through here, and you'll find loops as you're running the comb through there, and then you can just trim it. You can cut that loop as your comb finds it. And I'm sorry you're finding all the cat hair from my cat on top there. So once it is, the loops are opened up and you fluff it with a bunka brush, a soft toothbrush, a fine tooth comb, it gets this nice fuzzy look to it. And I see I've got some more loops in there I need to trim. So this is what your end look is for. And then, like I said, you can then take the rounded curved scissors and trim it a little bit better. So like around the tree here, I'm going to go kind of short just to make sure I see the tree. And that's the same thing I did over here on the mitten for around the rabbit, was I went really, really short here at this bottom part of it to make sure I could still see the rabbit. And then the same thing up here with the tassel. I went ahead and turkey tucked, but then I went back and I trimmed it really short underneath. I did add some extra rows to fill it in, but I trimmed it short, and I got it just a little bit longer as I got to the edge of the tassel. And I'll trim that tassel when it gets back from the finisher. I'll clip it when it comes back. I'm not ready to clip the ends of it yet. So that is how to do turkey tufting. There are great tutorials online. There is a through the loop turkey work. Some people find it easier. Once I got started on this one, it's just once you get going and it seems pretty easy to me. So that is the turkey work, the beading, the tassels, and I think we are at the end. pull the loops to be cut with a laying tool on each row. Okay. You could also make tassels. I did put in there on the last page tassels, how you can make tassels. So if you decide you want your tassel tops to be thinner, or you don't want this thickness at the top, and you just want a thinner tassel hanging down, I did put directions in there on how to make a tassel with a piece of cardboard, and you just wrap it, tie the neck, tie it off tight, and then you cut the ends and then trim it. So there is in there how to make a tassel. And then your fringed beading, there you can add as many beads, you can add bugles, you can go as short or as long as you want. As you can see, they did a different bead at the bottom and then looped it back up to the top. So that's an option also for your beaded fringe. So, you know, you go bugle bead, yeah, whatever. Yeah, just play with it and have fun on the beading if you choose to do that. Okay, so that is the two-sided Santa, pink Santa, and class is done. I think I showed you guys, I did go back and add some beads to my snowflakes on my tree. Just gives a little bit more shine to it, and then added some beads to the sky as well. So all I have left is to finish my turkey tufting. And I am going to go back and add some more leaves here in the flowers because I can see some empty holes. So I am going to go back and add either some greenery underneath or add some more petals on top. So that is the leaves with the French knots in the center. Okay, if anybody has any questions, call the shop, shoot me an email, or come on in and we will talk it all over. I hope you guys enjoy your pink Santa. He's beautiful. I can't wait to get him back, get him sent off and get him back. The other thing to do when you do turkey tufting, it leaves a lot of fuzz. So you can take a piece of tape or a lint brush and just very gently dab on there to get some of that fuzz off. As you can see, I'm getting some fuzz off of there. And that's the other thing I need to do. Piece of tape turned backwards and just lightly touch it just to get that extra fuzz from the turkey work off. That is that. And if you decide not to do turkey work, give me a call and there are other stitches we could do besides the turkey work for that. So good luck, ladies. If you have any questions, call me and have a great week.